This is TWiT. We live in interesting times because you have a lot of choices. This is the Note 8, which came out roughly the same time, another 8th generation phone. This one from Samsung. This is an OLED screen, and it is, like the iPhone X, a full-size screen. They're very little bezels. Samsung, I think, did the right thing with the top. Instead of cutting a notch in there, they just stopped the screen at a little bit before the end so they have room for the camera and the speaker. Of course, remember, Apple's putting a lot more in this top bar. Basically, they're putting a Connect in here with face recognition. But I think this is a beautiful screen. It's probably the best screen on the market today. And we'll look when the 10 comes out, but I would bet you it's pretty close. Very similar in terms of capabilities. The camera is a 12 megapixel dual lens camera, very much like the iPhone 8. Optical image stabilization in both lenses, just like the iPhone 8, or 8 Plus, I guess I should say. It has a portrait mode that isn't as good as Apple's iPhone 8 mode. It's a real-time portrait mode. I'll show you. By the way, this is the Samsung. Hey, there's Alex. A clean lens. By the way, I'll explain why they remind you to clean the lens in a second. But this bothers me. So the camera launches, and the only controls I see here are Bixby Vision, which I never want to use. That's the thing where you take a picture of something and it tells you what it is.
So you can buy it?
Thanks, Bixby. Yeah, I guess. And stickers. What I really want is some more, like video and other features. And so you slide them in. I really hate this too. Apple's doing this too with the slidey stuff where you have to figure out. But anyway, we'll slide it in. But let me go into the portrait mode if I can figure out how. I'm sure there's a way to do it here. All right, here we go. Now, I'm going to take a picture of you. Oh, let's flip it around.
I'll try to keep my eyes open this time.
Flip it around. We're in the selfie mode. Where are you? No, that's me. There we go. Okay. Now I'm going to do in live focus. This is their version of it. And what you do is you slide. It doesn't look any better, but you slide. You can slide this. No, it's very subtle, but let me get a little farther away from you. A little farther away from you. See the thing behind her? Now it's in focus. Now it's not in focus. Look at that. Now it's in focus. Now it's not in focus. That's it.
Oh, while you're
it does it in real time, and you
Oh.
can do it after you take the picture as well. Not a selling point. However, a very, very good camera. I would say roughly on a par with the 8. And I'm basing that not on pictures I've taken with the 8 because I haven't had my 8 long enough, but pictures I've seen. Andy Anako's doing a lot of iPhone 8 pictures. They're both, let's put it this way, they're both excellent cameras. Mm-hmm. The Note has some features that are unique, certainly better than the iPhone. It's got a headphone jack. That's wonderful. I really like that. And
Have you used it?
Yeah, I use it all the time because I charge like on the airplane, right? I don't want to use the iPhone on the airplane because I want to charge it while I'm listening, and I'd have to get a special dongle, etc. Whereas I just plug in my headphones, the headphone jack, it works great. Type-C charging, which is more universal than Lightning, and I like that. Although if you're in the Apple ecosystem, you probably have both Type-C and Lightning. The negatives on this phone are primarily the fingerprint reader. So Apple had a problem, and apparently Samsung wanted to do the same thing Apple did, with getting a fingerprint reader that would work through the screen. So Samsung, once again, put their fingerprint reader on the back. I wish they'd do what Google and everybody else does by putting it right in the middle, right there where it says Samsung, but instead they put it right next to the camera. And that's why that warning, because half the time when you do the fingerprint reader, you touch the camera. So the warning is you might want to clean off your camera before you take a picture. Because your fingerprints are all over it. It's also a funny shape. It's square. That's not the shape of my finger. But it's fast and it works. And this also has face recognition and iris recognition, neither of which I use because they're not as fast. I like fingerprint recognition. In fact, it's one of the reasons I probably will prefer the iPhone 8 over the iPhone 10, just because I want that fingerprint reader. Beautiful screen, big screen. It does have, as all Notes do, a stylus. And I love the stylus because it lets you draw, it lets you write. You can even, I'll put it back in the stylus back in and show you one of the nice features that's new in the Note 8 over previous Notes. If I pop it out while the screen is locked, I'll get a note mode and I can write on the screen, take notes, and I can even do it over 100 pages of notes. So my handwriting, as you can see, is terrible. But
is that words?
Yeah. I'm taking notes. But it is nice that you can do that, and you can, you can do drawing and so forth without even unlocking it. They've done a nice job, I think, of integrating the pen. It does have, again, the edge stuff, which I turn off immediately. But if you're a fan of that, you do have the edge. It also has, this edge screen, which can do various things. It also has the Bixby button, which is completely worthless. That's a button that you press to launch a special assistant named Bixby. Come on, Bixby. Oh, this is the newest feature of the Note 8. You can turn that off. So my Bixby button is no longer working.
That's nice.
I'll have to turn it back on again. Yeah, it's nice, except that what I really want to do is not just turn it off, but maybe assign it to something else. But Samsung did just push out an update that lets you turn off the Bixby button. Bixby is not exactly a duplicate of Google. You do have the Google stuff on here, the Google Assistant stuff on here. But Bixby is more about getting apps to run, interacting with apps, things like that. I have to say that is different enough that maybe you would want both, but it's also a learning curve. You have to learn what Bixby can and can't do and kind of get used to doing it. And I feel like people are challenged enough with a single voice assistant. Having multiple voice assistants is really kind of a specialty. So the Bixby button, why add a hardware button for something nobody wants? But at least we can turn it off. But yeah, I'm not crazy about that. So I'll knock them down for the Bixby button, the weirdly placed fingerprint reader. But otherwise, this is a fantastic phone. It's a Snapdragon 835, so it's very fast. Not as fast in benchmarks as the iPhone 8. Nothing's as fast as the A11 Bionic. That's an amazing processor. But I'd point out again, it's fast enough to do everything I want to do with it. They do have and we should mention they're a sponsor, the Snapdragon Gigabit LTE chip in here, which means with the right network, and most American networks now are going to start to support this. T-Mobile does now. This is what this one's on. You get really fast LTE. I like that. That's something Apple's not doing because, as you know, they're feuding with Qualcomm right now, and so they're doing their own thing. I would say if you are an Android user, if you don't mind the changes that Samsung makes to the Android interface, some of them are really great, some of them are a little strange. This is an excellent phone, which I highly recommend. Yes, wireless charging, high-speed wireless charging. Nobody else is doing styluses. I think there's one other phone with styluses. Samsung does that really great. So if you're a freehand artist or you like to take notes with penmanship, it's great. It's a good-looking phone. Glass back, just like the iPhone, which means you're probably going to want a case for it. I definitely recommend this. If you know you like Samsung, I've had an every Note since they came out. I'm a big Note fan. This is a suitable phone for anybody who likes Android or likes Samsung or likes the Note family. Battery life, very good, 3,300 milliamp hour. It's as good, I would say, as the iPhone 8, maybe even a little bit better. Been getting very good battery life out of this. So I would say a definite buy for this, because nobody has it. Last year's Note, we had to turn our Note 7s in. So if you're upgrading, you're upgrading from a 2-year-old Note 5. This is a very much of a worthy upgrade. Really nice phone, and boy, you gotta love that screen. And this heralds the future. This is what Apple's going to do eventually with the iPhone 10.
I like bezels.
Giant screen.
I like my bezels.
You don't mind bezels?
I like them. It's not just that I don't mind them.
I have to say, if I have a choice between having a fingerprint reader in a proper position, I would probably choose the bezels. I agree with you. I don't mind bezels so much. We're used to them now. On the other hand, boy, that OLED screen is gorgeous, and that's what we're going to see on the iPhone 10 as well. It's just really stunning screen. So definitely a thumbs up if you're interested in the Samsung Note 8. Very nice phone.